Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Word in Review, a brief summary of the message preached at the Faith Dimensions Ministries in Wolverton, Milton Keynes, England, yesterday, the 14th day of April 2024. The message was titled, It's in Its Mouth. Our presiding bishop, Bishop Glenn Ferguson, brought a powerful word that was a blessing to his people, to God's people. The passage was... the key scriptures was Genesis chapter 8 verse 11 and 2 Kings chapter 4 verse 34. In Genesis chapter 8, we see the story of the flood, and Bishop spoke briefly about the flood, briefly about how God delivered Noah's family and preserved all the animals and all that. And then he spoke briefly about the role of the dove, in informing Noah about the end of the flood. And he said the dove came back in the evening, and Bishop spoke about the fact that God's own schedule is very different. God does a lot of things, out of time, out of sync with what we think is the ideal time. For example, the Bible says that the evening and the morning was the first day, the evening and the morning was the second day. So God starts the day in the evening. God does a lot of mighty and wonderful things in the evening. And then the message he went on to talk about our need not to speak what we feel, because many people surround themselves and speak very negative words, words of death, words of destruction, because of the experiences of life, because of the things that they experienced in their lives. And many people have been damaged by the words that preceded their birth. Many people have been damaged by words that were spoken when they were born. Many people have been damaged by the words, that they grew up with. Words that placed a cap on their expectation, placed a limitation on their ability to believe for big and great things. Bishop warned us against this, and that we needed to be deliberate in fighting against every form of limitation. He said we should be like Jesus. Jesus always spoke the solutions. Jesus never wasted his energy. Jesus never said something that he didn't expect to happen. And that should be our attitude too. And then he went on to focus a little bit more on the woman in 2 Kings chapter 4, the woman that Elisha had helped. Because there was this woman that was very wealthy, very rich, made provision for Elisha and his servant. And at some point, to cut the long story short about about the situation, she had a child by the prophetic, but something happened and the child died, and she took the child back, to go and meet Elisha, the man of God. And what Bishop brought out is the fact that the woman never pronounced the child dead. She never said the child was dead. When the woman of God asked her, she said, "It shall be well." He said, "It shall be well," whereas she knew that the child was dead. And it was her insistence was so strong that the man of God had no option but to do something. And Bishop, towards the end of the message, he spoke about the fact that how the man of God stretched, himself over the child, his hands on the child's hands, his eye on the child's eyes. Is more or less like spreading his torso, his body on the child, and it drew some spiritual inference from that for us, which is that it is very, very important for us to go in the same direction with our spiritual leader. It's very important for us to go in the same, pathway, and because the oil always comes from the head. The oil doesn't come from any other place. It comes from the head and drops from the head to the beards of Aaron. And the summary in my mind is that our salvation and our deliverance is in the mouth of the prophet, is in the mouth of the person that God has put over our lives. Many people discount this, and many people try to make light of it, but the discerning know that God puts people on earth, and there are graces that God has given to people that empowers them to be his representative, to lift people out of darkness. And I personally believe that as we stay focused and we stay trusting in God, and listening to the man of God, we will walk in our victory, especially if we learn how to be positive in our confession. If we learn how to speak only what God says concerning us, we will walk in victory. It was a very powerful message. I mean, the message these days has been really, really on point, meeting the needs of the people for the moment. I want to encourage you to go to our website. You can also find this message on YouTube, or this message, you also find it on Facebook. It will be a blessing to you. Thank you very much. God bless.